Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the All New Marvel Roundup. It's a Marvel podcast, so we have to put all new in front of it. If you've been listening to the Roundup, you know me. I am Phil, and with me is a man you should all know from this same feed, the brain behind Super Connectivity podcast and blog, Mr. Charlie Esser.
It's a pleasure.
All right, let's jump in.
So, what did you hear? Where did we leave ourselves?
You're talking about the other Deadpool.
Yes. I mean, do you know who that is? Or I don't have my computer up in front of me.
Was it that guy T-Ray?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Anyway, yeah. So it did have this previous Deadpool, so it's entirely or a contiguous Deadpool when Wade Wilson wasn't Deadpool or was Deadpool at the same time this guy was being Deadpool. Mm-hmm. But in the comics, you just had this other guy, and then Wade Wilson came back, and things got crazy.
With Deadpool? Get out of here.
Yes. So that may be why Omega Red says Deadpool killed his family.
Could be, yeah. Just like with the second issue of Ant-Man.
Of course, I don't quite... yes, it's like, wait, it was a different Deadpool? Of course, I've never, thought of Omega Red as the kind of guy who, has a family. You know, I don't see Omega Red with, Little Red and Omegette, you know. Your teacher's at school today. Don't make me come down there with my tendril things, you know. I don't see the domestic Omega Red, you know. Mm-hmm. But he says he has a family and they've been killed. Of course, maybe someone just told him he had a family and killed him, Dr. Faustus style, you know.
Yeah, because Deadpool even says that to Omega Red. He's like, come on. He's like, even I know by now us, created super soldiers. And he's like, we all have artificially implanted memories.
Well, exactly. That's because that's how you control them. Oh, dang it! I knew that was one thing. Never mind. Something I wanted to talk about on the Before the Bat podcast was whether or not Fish and Bullock had a relationship. But tune into Before the Bat this week. Well, I'm the special guest star.
That's right.
Yes, I don't talk about Fish and Bullock, but we talk about a lot of other stuff.
A very rare appearance by Charlie Esser talking DC Comics.
Yes, it was a great. It's the great crossover episode.
All right, let me buzz through some of these other ones. Amazing X-Men 17. Everyone's still after the Jewel of Sidorak, including powerless Kane Marco. But at the end of the issue, guess who gets their hands on the Gem of Sidorak and I guess basically becomes the new Juggernaut?
Kitty Pryde.
No, you're way off.
Cyclops.
Way off. No,
that would make sense. He has the Crimson I-beam.
No,
okay.
It's basically the living monolith.
That has got to have been a Stan Lee creation.
Well, I knew him. I think I've seen him before. He's basically a giant. He looks like a stone giant. I knew him in that form, but before he got the stone, he was almost looked like a withered old man. But then when he grabbed the jewel, he took his living monolith form.
And now he's the living Crimson Monolith.
Basically.
Da-da-da. Yes. Well, good for him. Good for him reclaiming his superpowers.
Yeah, but I forgot with Deadpool, but Deadpool and Amazing X-Men, I'll give those thumbs up.
Oh, okay.
Like we ever give anything a thumbs down, but still.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's... yeah, you can do a thumb sideways. You can, Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Let's see. All New X-Men was part 4 of Black Vortex. the crossover with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's see. We didn't see. Well, basically, we saw the remaining X-Men members and Guardians of the Galaxy survive because they thought, I don't know, the present-day Beast, the original Angel who was brought to the present from the past, and Gamora have all been changed by the Black Vortex into these. They say they're like superior beings. They can, I don't know, they're more in tune with the universe, but
yeah.
Yes, and
Just say no to Black Vortex kids.
and get reinforcements show up in the end. Guess who shows up in the end?
The Living Monolith.
No, young Cyclops.
Oh, young Cyclops. Yeah, because he's with the Starjammers now.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, and like I'll give that again thumbs up. Then Thor Annual 1. There's like 3 short stories in there.
Yes, I have that. I did not get the chance to read it.
It's pretty good. The first one is well, it's back in the last Thor series they showed like Thor in the future, like I think this is like thousands of years in the future. He's basically the All-Father now, and he has 3 granddaughters, and Earth's like a barren wasteland. Because in this issue they show him and his granddaughters, they're actually able to bring life back to the planet Earth. There's all these animals running around, and old King Thor, there's enough, I don't know, energy or whatever left to create 2 humans, your Adam and Eve, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So what does he name them? Steve and Jane.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the second
And
story.
of course he creates white people.
How do you know? I didn't say that.
Well, no, because actually I have the book here. I haven't read it.
Okay, yeah.
I got it. I got a lot of books this week.
Yeah. And then the second story is the new Thor meets the Warriors 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty amazing, humorous story. They gave her tasks to fulfill when she does it.
Yay!
Some quite differently than the old Thor.
Yes. Well, that's why she's the new Thor.
Yeah. And then the last story is it's a flashback. It's like Thor right before he gets the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
It's written by CM Punk, the wrestler.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Basically it's just Thor drinking Loki and then Mephisto under the table.
There you go. Because that's what Vikings do.
What, outdrink the devil?
Yes. Oh, that's you. Oh, they have the cosmic. They have the drinks. Odin's beard, literally ale-soaked hair. The ultimate nullifier.
Yes.
Yes, and the Gamma Slam with the little pink, little purple bits underneath it.
But yeah, I give that a big thumbs up.
Yes.
Let me see. Then Daredevil 13. Someone's watching Daredevil, and he's all worried about his new girlfriend, about her safety now that the whole world definitely knows he's Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
And we get an appearance of the Shroud, but at the end we see the Shroud is being mentally controlled by someone.
Okay.
Yeah. Thumbs up. I like the Daredevil book. I like Mark Waid's take on it. And finally, I want to tell you about this. Superior Iron Man 5.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I told you there's a big revelation? We get the origin of Teen Abomination.
Yes.
I like the cover.
Yes. Very good. Yeah. Well, it's a very classic tales of suspense kind of cover. You know, it's
Tales of Superiority.
yes, Tales of Superiority.
Oh, that title. But well, before I get to the big reveal, like Tony Stark, I'm trying to remember how he figures out that they're from the past. He had a memory of finding the Black Llama, and he was telling Team Abomination about it. But meanwhile, when he goes he can't remember that day after after the battle, and all his security footage is gone. And yeah, so he wants to know who did that. But I'm thinking, here's my theory. I'm thinking it has to do with him. Well, with who was Pepper talking to in the old Iron Man armor?
Yes.
Because the Black Llama, I guess, he was getting in Tony Stark's head mentally. So I'm thinking, do you think Tony Stark made some kind of, made a copy of his brain and made it like a fail-safe in case, what's happening now is happening? Yeah.
Because we know he had a backup of his brain when he deleted his brain previously. So we know that there's a backup of old Tony's brain somewhere. Because why wouldn't he make another backup? What I find interesting is the fact that something got deleted from his past. It goes into what we were talking about last week about your old your heroes being their stories, and the retconning of characters and them realizing that their timelines have been manipulated. So
Right.
that could be something that more than just being superhero related. It could very easily be related to what's about to happen in our Secret Wars world.
Yeah. But I'm
With
just yeah, sorry. I was just thinking. He's thinking somebody erased all the footage. He's probably gonna blame Pepper, but I'm thinking he did it himself because the way they set it up in this issue, it looks like I bet you he set up fail safe in case he was ever mentally dominated, and then he erased all his memories and footage and everything just so he wouldn't know he had a fail safe.
well, that's brilliant.
In case something like Superior Iron Man happened.
Yes.
But
Well,
here's the big reveal. Teen Abomination. They revealed who his parents are.
and who are they?
Well, his mother was a scientist who was working for Stark Enterprises,
Mm-hmm.
and his father was none other than Happy Hogan.
Hey, the fat guy from Iron Man.
So that's why he said he feels a responsibility towards him now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awfully sweet. So he actually still has a soft side, even
Yeah,
in all of
kinda,
his
sorta.
superior. Yeah, well, like Loki says, the good nuts becomes bad, the bad nuts becomes good, and Iron Man had more good than bad when he turned into Spirit Iron Man, but he still had that bad that is now good. That part of him that was this small bit of the selfish, arrogant jerk, that's still inside of him, and that's been reversed as well. So, and that of course is the redemption of Tony Stark in the end. Perhaps. Okay.
So I gave that a big thumbs up. So
That sounds good.
What did you read?
So what did I read that you did not yet? Now, we both read Avengers, so we'll get to that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read Fantastic Four?
Yes, I did.
Okay, did you read Spider-Man 2099?
Yes, and amazing.
And amazing. Okay, so that leaves Captain America, Fear Him, and Uncanny Avengers. So we have our big finale for the Captain America, Fear Him mini. And it's your pretty standard superhero story. The good guys triumph over evil by working together, along with the plucky young kids that they met in the first issue, or I'm sorry, the second issue, and random bag of bones guys who, as luck would have it, happens to be a locksmith. It's actually, here's what I'm going to say. It's got some great action, some great storytelling. So separate from all of the Deus Ex Machina and the, as luck would have it, our Thermal B long underwear that you did not know we were wearing, Batman reference. Aside from all of that, it's a great story, visually told, and a great, coming out for Ian and Sam. At the end of it, because Ian says, I got a taste of fear and it shut me down. I didn't know what to do. But you were like terrified. I know that. How were you able to push through it all? And he's like, and he says, "Oh, you're gonna make me say it out loud like your pop would." And he says, and he does the whole speech. It is not it isn't about never being scared. It's about facing your fear that makes you a hero, standing up, pushing through, and doing the damned thing anyway. And then the sun setting as everyone's standing in front of it. Wise words, yes. And of course, Cap was listening on the speaker the whole time. So, and this is the big thing at the end. It says, "The end. The adventures of the All New Captain America and Nomad continue in All New Captain America number 5," which seems to suggest Nomad's in issue 5 somehow. So maybe he is not dead yet, and that is our hope. And that maybe he's not going to be horribly manipulated. Maybe he doesn't have a healing factor, at least seemingly, because he's not because he's talking about how his ribs are broken and his knees are are hurt. Although he still manages to put up a pretty good fight against the Scarecrow. So maybe he has some kind of healing factor that's keeping him alive. But whatever it is, he seems to be coming through it okay. And Captain America Fear Him. Like I said, it is a great story told visually. A little comic, it's a little comic booky in its storytelling for a comic book, but it's quite nice, and it really, I think, last week we were talking about how they've been putting Sam through the ringer. This is Sam's redemption, I think, and I think issue 5 is going to be his redemption as well. It's going to be where, yes, he's been put through the ringer, but he is Captain America. He is as much Captain America as Steve ever was, and he has pushed through it, and he has come out the stronger, better, superior Captain America, if you will.
So you said this was the last part. Was this issue 4?
Yeah, this was issue 4 of Captain America Fear Him. Although he's not the one that is, I guess you should fear him because he's very fearful, because he can push through the fear and fight bad guys anyway. But it was a great issue. It was a very good issue, and big thumbs up on that one. Second one I read that you did not is Uncanny Avengers #2. This is part of the reboot. And we have got the High Evolutionary wiping out all of his new men on Counter-Earth. Just completely, blink of an eye, atom bomb, wiping them out. And he is one cold fella looking for perfection. And of course he can never achieve it. So that's pretty sad. And we find out that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver have been saved by the humans on this planet. Which, why there were no new men in the Resistance, I'm not quite sure, but apparently Wyndham has some humans, apparently his children, or at least one of them is his children. We find that one of them, the low evolutionary, is his son, apparently. But there are some other humans that he had on Counter-Earth as well who are serving as the resistance to him. And they get into this little argument because they saved Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch instead of trying to save any of the new men when they realized that the High Evolutionary was going to wipe them all out. We have Dr. Voodoo speaking with the spirits of all of the countless Animen that the High Evolutionary has committed genocide against. And we find out that basically the High Evolutionary wants to create perfection among these creatures, but it always fails. And how to sort through that, and that's why they have to stop him, because he's quite nuts and seeking a perfection that can never truly be, because he is not perfect. But he cannot stand that fact, obviously. We get the reappearance of the new Captain America, who has been turned into a tree person, but seems to have some amount of Captain America-y sense of self still, because even though the High Evolutionary doesn't see him, the Cap tree guy, the Cap Groot, sees the High Evolutionary. Meanwhile, they're experimenting on Sabretooth and are astounded because his healing factor and hunting skills are far beyond anything that the High Evolutionary has been able to create. So he wants to try and duplicate this so he can add that to his next round of new men. Meanwhile, his chief scientist is clearly working against him because he says, "Oh, there are no mutants here." Meanwhile, he has Rogue in a suspension cell because he's very fascinated by mutants, and he's keeping the fact that he pulled Rogue out quiet. And High Evolutionary sends him over Sabretooth to dissect as well, which means now he has two mutants to work with, because he feels that mutants are the secret to the perfection that they're seeking. And then, bum, 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 the big reveal. Well, actually, the big reveal comes before that, when Wyndham says the fraternal twins, that they masquerade as mutants. Yes, I remember the old games. I remember well. But I can assure you, I have detected no mutants here. Meanwhile, we see behind him is Rogue, so obviously there are mutants there. A pity and a curiosity, but I'm sending you a gift, and he sends him over Sabretooth, because he needs to use his hunting skills to find the low evolutionary, his son. And then he says, "We have an interesting dilemma, Luminous. I need you to kill your brother and sister. Dun dun dun. So clearly, this is the third of the fraternal twins. Their sister, called Luminous, and she's got like blue magic power of some sort, maybe energy blasts, maybe magic of some sort. And she is apparently Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch's sister, and not Magneto's. And they are clearly not Magneto's children, as we know. And apparently they're not mutants either, because they were masquerading as mutants.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, so... Haha, Fox. Yeah, that seems to be the case. So that is the big reveal. Uncanny Avenger. I mean, it's a great book. It's got excellent art. The scene with Dr. Voodoo and the spirits of the slaughtered New Men is just quite powerful and moving as he gestures magically. And although again, hey, can we cut Sam Wilson a break? We've turned him into a tree. That's not cool, man. Quit harshing on Sam. For those who keep track of this, Luminous's costume could be a lot less revealing. It is like the worst 90s excess in sexy superhero and supervillain costumes. But I'm looking forward to see what the character can do. So just a great story, great, well drawn, well told, and big thumbs up on that one too. I mean, really, it's honestly, I'm usually not so stunned by the art, but the art in the books I've read this week have been really impressive. And that's my separate stuff. Let's talk about the stuff we both read. What do you want to go through first?
We want to do Fantastic Four?
Sure, let's do Fantastic Four. So we get our so this one, there's a lot going on. It's very chaotic. And one thing I'm going to say right off the bat, because it's your basic scene where the villain's yammering on, and he says, and of course you cannot stop me, and Mr. Fantastic says good. And the reason why he says good is because he was just pretending to be captured this whole time, because he wanted the villain the Quiet Man to yammer on. He's a quiet man, but he sure talks a lot. And then, of course, it's like he was never really captive, and he uses his stretchy ability to break out. And he says, and I left bombs throughout your facility, as I was coming to confront you. Anyway, here's the problem with that, though. We see very clearly one of these bombs is where the Future Foundation is. So he nearly kills the entire Future Foundation with all of these randomly placed bombs that he scattered around the building.
Hey, he's Mr. Fantastic. He knows exactly where it's going to blow up.
Yeah, but he didn't know his son was there, clearly. So clearly he did not know that what he was blowing up was going to be where his son... Now maybe, they have moved since then, and they just happened to walk into the path of the bomb, but that's why we don't leave random bombs around, Mr. Fantastic. There's reasons we don't do that. And so, but everyone lived, and Bentley has a very nice touching... Bentley 23 has a very nice touching moment with his dad, the Wizard, and nice father-son moment before he flies away, and then they all get together, and then we cut to New York where it's clobbering time, and the Hulk and the Thing are fighting the various creatures from the negative zone, and the Sleepwalker and Sue and Jim Hammond, and I guess also Reed Richards are going to go into the dream world of Franklin to sort of sort this all out. And that's great until, of course, the final page, and the heroes look like they're winning until the alternate Avengers show up. Oh boy, madness on two worlds next week. I'm going to be a little harsh on this book because of the when you have bad choices by characters, it really bothers me. Sort of like when Captain Marvel flew through the endless envelope last week, and this week with Mr. Fantastic just randomly leaving bombs around, because why not? So I'm going to say I'm not. Although I'm glad it's part of the arc, but I'm like, sideways thumb on this one. Not quite down, but definitely sideways. What did you think, Phil?
Yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up. Not an enthusiastic thumbs up, but I'll give it a thumbs up.
Okay. So it doesn't bother you that Mr. Fantastic just randomly blew up stuff at a populated facility where people are working.
He's a genius. He knows how to do it.
Oh, you give these superheroes too much credit. They're a menace, I tell you. A menace.
All right, JJ, settle down.
Okay. So what do you think of Spider-Man 2099?
I liked it but what do you think? What do you think's going on? Because New York or Nueva York or is it how we left it?
Well, see, I think this is the first, which is what we'll get into when we get to the Avengers. I think this is the first sighting of Battle World, because it seems to be that Dystopia, the Hulk's world, and the 2099 universe have merged, and New York has been destroyed. And they make this interesting point, which is something I want to get to when we get to Super Connectivity this week. Listen to Super Connectivity this week, because they gave some reveals about what's going on in Battle World, which seems to suggest that the denizens of Battle World aren't aware they're from alternate universes, or maybe not. But we can discuss that on Super Connectivity. But here we have the situation where the Hulk seems to very much be of this world in his own way, even though it's clearly not his world. So, I think it's very interesting that this world has been blown up in the way that the Hulk's world was, the Maestro's world was, and here we have the Maestro walking around this world as if it is his own. He even has his citadel built there. It seems to be that this is this, and of course I think it ties very much into, how the end of the Spider-Verse saga is going to tie into our Battle World and into the incursions and Secret Wars. I think that this, the fact that the 2099 universe is the first to have its timeline merged with some other planet's timeline is telling, very much so. At least that's my take on it. And of course, speaking of parallel dimensions, we have Strange 2099 on it as well, who of course is chained up and bound by mystic enchantments that apparently the Hulk knows how to do now. So good for the Hulk to have went out and learned some mystic enchantments. Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I mean, it's a pretty sparse book. Not a lot happens in it because it's everyone's kind of like, what's going on? And the reader is like, I don't know. That's why I'm reading the book. Why don't you tell us? But of course, there are no answers. I'm sorry?
I said just kind of setting the scene.
Yeah, exactly. It sets the scene. And it definitely makes you want to read number 10, because things have gotten strange when Spider-Man got back to his home, and it wasn't his home anymore. And, of course, the fact that the Hulk says that Alchemix destroyed this world accidentally is interesting, because, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And he says it was in the first part of the last century, which means it was before 2099 that Alchemix destroyed this world, which means what happened in the timeline happened while he was separate from it. And of course, to go into a whole thing here, in Future Imperfect, the Maestro makes the point that, when you travel in time, you create an alternate timeline in that timeline. So when Professor Hulk met himself, the Maestro says, I don't remember meeting you, so this didn't happen in my timeline, but it's happening in your timeline, and we're just going to be two different universes. And they say something similar here with Spider-Man 2099, who has met Maestro, and this Maestro has never met him before, because of course that makes for an alternate universe. So obviously, I think what we've seen is that the Maestro's universe and 2099 universe have merged, and because Spider-Man was off-world when that happened, he's the only one who really realizes that things have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my take on it. And
So,
speaking of Spider-Man, what did you think of our Amazing Spider-Man Capper issue?
I liked it. Well, wait, for 2099, thumbs up?
Oh, yeah, thumbs up. It's a solid book. It's, here's what I'll say. If you are following Spider-Man 2099, it's worth picking up. It's going to set you up into Spider-Man number 10. If you jump on at number 10, I don't know if you're going to miss much. If you say, "Oh wow, that's great, I'm going to pick up the next issue next month," you're not going to miss much. I think you're going to be able to jump in at issue 10 and just know that things are messed up, because things are messed up when we start this book, and they're still messed up when we're going to go into next week's book, or next month's book. So I don't think that a new reader needs to pick this up. But it's fine to pick up if it's already on your pull list. Definitely pick it up. I think it's going to kick into high gear when we get into next issue, though.
If you want to get all the Secret Wars tie-ins, this is probably the unofficial first part.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably our first. This is where we're going to get our first hints of what's going on in Secret Wars. Although I think the big first hint of that is what we get in Avengers. So what do you want to do next? Avengers or Amazing Spider-Man?
Let's do Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes. Okay, we'll save Avengers for the last, because that's the big one.
Okay.
So in Amazing Spider-Man, we have Otto. All is done. A little comic book logic on, the inheritor is going to starve to death, and no, they can eat cockroaches, so they'll be fine. Which is, it's doable, I guess. It's of course they still don't, because of course Solus is still a crystal in there, so he's still technically dead. He just has his memories written down. But I guess that was their little cop out to say we really, really didn't kill these guys, But sure, why not? And Otto decides to go a little nuts because he's figured out that his timeline is being made for him, and he says, "I will not be bound by the strands of fate," and he starts cutting up the web of fate. They're like, "Dude, you can't cut up the web because that's like people's existence, and you're destroying universes doing that." Tying into Incursions again. And they managed to defeat him, and they send him back. But before they send him back, he says to Anna, "Engage the protocol," and she says yes, going into sleep mode for 100 days. So I think next issue she's going to be waking up, and we're going to find out what happens with Anna in 100 days, and that's going to be interesting because I think what he did was probably record his mind somewhere and instructed Anna to retrieve it for him or something,
Yeah, when he makes it back to the past, he probably uploads his brain into some kind of mainframe.
Yeah, he's out there somewhere. So I think we're at least gonna get Doc Ock back, if not our Superior Spider-Man. So yay for that. And we've got Ben and May Parker, being happy, and of course, Mary Jane survived, and that's good. So they have a Spider family, and May decides to no longer be Spider Girl and become Spider Woman. Of course, and Anya, the Spider Girl, and Spider UK, and who's the third Spider? Did the third Spider stay with them, or? No,
it was the Weaver.
Oh, the Weaver, yes. And they're going to protect Loom World. They're going to be the Spiders of the Loom World. And then the Weaver, of course, the guy with the mask decides to become the new Weaver, which means that he killed his own mother in the first issue of their story there, where they're fighting the Weaver on the Loom World, and the Weaver unwinds his mother's strand of existence. Yeah.
Time travel.
That's pretty. Except it was apparently him the whole time. What was he?
Yeah, it was an old.
Yeah. Well, but was it because he was an alternate dimension, an alternate universe version of himself, or I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, it gets crazy. But anyway, he then takes on the mantle of becoming the Master Weaver, and because he was the Master Weaver the whole time apparently, and so he's gonna weave the strands of fate back together, and he says, unfortunately, everyone's spider sense is not going to be as good as it used to be because of this, so unfortunately. But, they'll rebuild the web. And, of course, Kane comes back, apparently.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yes, we got our Kane back. Yay, Kane. So, but we'll see because he had a pretty... Oh, that's who the other spider who stays behind is Kane. So you have Kane, Spider UK, and Anya as our defenders of Loom World, and that's going to come in handy when we get to Secret Wars in the Spider World.
Yes.
section of it. I'm sure. Because they're off-world, they may be the ones that know what's going on, and that's what's important, is having the people who know something has changed. Because when we get into super connectivity, we'll talk about that a bit more. But let's. So again, of course, big thumbs up on that. It's the end of our Spider-Verse run. Sets us up to where we're going next. Gives us the hope that Superior Spider-Man will be back in some form.
Yes.
And because that's cool, man.
And we need that Superior Spider-Man versus Superior Iron Man fight too.
Yeah, man, I want to see that. Maybe that's who's in the armor. 100 days out, Anya finds an old Iron Man armor to upload, and
All right,
it'll sell.
Yeah, want to get to the big one?
Let's get to the big one, to Avengers. Now, here we find. Now, this is interesting. Because, and again, we get some great callbacks to Secret Wars 2 in this, when the Beyonders are fighting the Celestials. Because, of course, in Secret Wars 2, the Beyonder did fight the Celestials. And they make this point about how, in that issue, when he's fighting the Celestials on their home world, how the battle, and he says, because he's thinking to himself, this must make a great show for the folks on the ground. But they don't even see half of it, because this battle's taking place on countless different dimensions and realities right now as I fight them. And here we have the Beyonders, all of the Beyonders, getting together, fighting the Celestials and wiping the Celestials out from all existence. And they suggest that the Beyonders have been basically destroying worlds or destroying universes for some reason, and we're not sure why. And within that same concept, you have Hank Pym suggesting that the Beyonder that they first encountered on the first Battle World was in fact simply a
child unit. They said,
yes, a child unit
that mimicked what it saw.
Yes. I'm not sure if I buy that. I really don't like when they try to retcon the Beyonder into something other than what they established him as, just because he was a pretty cool character. And, I don't mind them tying him to the other Beyonders, but suggesting that he wasn't. Yeah, well, like I said, I'm just not sure if I buy it yet, but we'll see. And, of course, Hank Pym makes the point that he's stark raving mad and can barely describe half the things he saw. So
what else
there's
is
still a lot of room open for this, but we get the birth of Battleworld in there when the Living Tribunal, who is, in this case, they're saying the essence of the multiverse, dies and falls upon a planet, and each of the multiverses become part of the planet. And I think that is what we're discussing here when we're discussing Battleworld. That is the genesis of Battleworld, is all of these multiverses infusing into one world and becoming a single planet of the multiverses centered around the Earth of that multiverse. Which makes some degree of sense, I suppose. But again, like I said, what's interesting to me in this is the idea of because we don't have the Beyonders' motivation. Why are they destroying worlds? Why are they wiping out these universes? And am I wrong, or are they suggesting that the super adaptoids from earlier, the AIM super duper adaptoids, are actually the Beyonders, or am I misreading that completely? Because I thought they were suggesting that the super adaptoids were the map makers, but I guess
I don't know. I don't know if they're suggesting that maybe that they merged, or
I know they were all in that white wild space, that
yeah,
blank space. I'm thinking, wait, are they saying that the super adaptoids were the Beyonders who've existed throughout space and time?
Or unless they all merged and the addition of the adaptoids drove the Beyonders crazy or something.
I don't know. I'm just a little I'm a little confused by that. So it's not quite clear to me exactly what's going on. I think someone who's been reading these seasons a lot more detailed than I am is going to have to, and actually keeps their books in long boxes and doesn't have them spread about his apartment.
Charlie, who's reading these more in detail than you?
Oh, I just read them, man. I don't. That's my thing. Is you think I'm obsessive, but man, there are people who make me look like a piker.
Oh, I know.
I read them, I love them, but I don't have them organized. I don't have it where I can just go and say, oh wait, that was issue and pull it up and say, yes, I see the artwork and how they're doing they're hinting that these characters are those characters.
Well, to be honest, I don't think they've given us all the pieces yet. So
yeah, so I'm not sure if that, because like I said, I thought that the super adaptoids became the map makers who went out, plotted the worlds, and destroyed them because that's what they do. But it's like it's a little confusing to me, but we're working it out. But that was, this is part of the growth. And of course, and what I'm going to say is what's interesting about this and why I'm not quite sure we've got the whole on what the Beyonder was yet is last week we had Mighty Avengers, which I did not get the chance to read, so I did not get to talk about, but the Beyonders showed up there as well last week because the Beyonders, because apparently the Cortex Corporation, the head of the Cortex Corporation, who is not at home anymore, reached out into the Beyond and something reached back. And they said, now this is the Beyond Corporation. And I was thinking, well, that seems totally like something our old school Beyonder would do. Take over a corporation, be all up into the mucky muck of the Marvel Universe. And to something we talked about last week, the head is very much talking about how he wants to own his own Avengers, because it's an Avengers world. And when you can manipulate what an Avenger is, then you can really make some changes. So it's very, very different. The Beyonders we're getting in the new Avengers versus the Beyonders that we're getting in Avengers, the Mighty Avengers, where it's like I say, it's much more personal. Like these Beyonders here, they're very cosmic and wipe out universes with a brush of a hand. In Mighty Avengers, but 616 is still important, and that's what makes it interesting. So we're certainly getting a different story in different books, and of course, the stories write themselves. So I'm gonna say, all told, it's a good book. I didn't even notice that. Sparta UK is on the cover of New Avengers.
yeah, I just noticed that too.
Yes. Because that's when they went and destroyed all of the. I guess that was when that's supposed to be depicting when the Citadel was attacked. But of course, Sparta UK didn't die on that because he was in the Spartaverse at the time. So I don't know. Of course, maybe it's from an alternate timeline of Captain Britain, and it gets crazy. But yes, and of course, as we learned last week, also with Scott and Alex fighting, just because it's on the cover doesn't mean it happens in the book.
That's right.
It's like we just put it on the cover because we wanted you to buy the cover, and we thought this would work. So, yeah, but great issue. We're definitely moving full forward into this. I can't wait to pick up Avengers World next week, which is our third Avengers title that's part of this. I'm wondering what's going on in Secret Avengers, because that's like the one Avengers book I don't buy, and now I'm worried that this is what's going on over here. That Modic's got a whole storyline going on in Secret Avengers that I don't know about. And it's like, I missed what? That was all in Secret Avengers? You had to get that book too? Dang it. Yes. I'm still waiting to find out what the justification of the two disparate versions of Coulson are, but maybe that'll be solved in Secret Wars too. That's the great thing about Secret Wars. But yeah, so I think that's the crux of it. I think this is building into Secret Wars as this very interesting thing, and I think I said a couple weeks ago about this being very much just the Amalgam universe all over again. I'm starting to think that's exactly what it is. It is the Amalgam universe all over again, except it's the Amalgam universe of the Marvel multiverse is getting amalgamized, and that's what we're going to be doing in Secret Wars. And I for one welcome our new Amalgam overlords. I think it's going to be an interesting read, and we're going to talk about all of that on Super Connectivity.
That's right. Tune in later this week.
So yeah, but a good week for comics. What do you think, Phil?
Yes, very good week. I was impressed with I think just about everything I read, Marvel wise. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great week, and I didn't even read half my books. I still got to read Superior Iron Man and Thor Annual, which we did review, and then of course, S.H.I.E.L.D. with special guest star Spider-Man.
Ooh.
Yeah, Spider-Man, and Agent Coulson, and I think Batu, or is that Wong? I don't know. Master of the Mystic Arts. Yes, we're gonna be dealing with magic, and then we get Fitz and Henry in the little Batman comic feature. Oh, and then I also got Futurama this week, though that's not a Marvel comic, so we don't talk about that.
All right, is that it then?
That's it. That has been super. That has been
Not yet.
yes.
Later this week. That is the all new Marvel Roundup.
Yes.
And if you want to get a hold of me, you can email me at nightwingpdp@gmail.com, or on Twitter I am at nightwingpdp.
Mm-hmm. And I am at Charlie Esser on Twitter. And you can write me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. Of course, as always, like me on Facebook, because I'm there. If you like me, I'll like you.
That's right. So, that's it for this week for the all-new Marvel Roundup. And once again, I am Phil.
And I am Charlie.
See you on Battle World, everyone.